Oh my gosh. Happy December. Happy December, gang. Woo, what a night. That was so fun. There are so many people in qualification, in finished promotions and bonus. And it's just like, oh my gosh, that was, wow, you guys are, it was so much fun. Like literally, it's going to take me like a half hour to go back through and like comment and like on everybody's everything. It's just so much fun. And you are going to be so glad that you're in the momentum you're in because of everything that's coming up this month. So we all know that so Arbonne, for the new folks, Arbonne does an incentive trip every year. It's called AIT. That's what that stands for. And every year it's somewhere different, and every year it gets better and better. So I'm told that it's just something you want to do because obviously you want to go on a free trip, but then it's also about what it does for your business. Like typically people, when you earn the trip, you're going as at least an area manager, if not a regional vice president or our nation, just because of what the requirements are in terms of the activity that is needed to get into to meet the requirements. It just involves you doing like a lot of like putting your business like in fast forward. It's basically like sponsoring. It's a lot of sponsoring and being in activity. And so guess what? When you do that, you just promote in your business. And so it's just a really awesome incentive for you to do what you came here to do anyway. And then you actually get a trip. I know that like when I worked and like kind of did all my stuff at my job, I didn't get a vacation when I did it. I was just like, hey, thanks. You still have a job. So this is really awesome that they're putting this out there. So it's announced on the call directly after this. So it's 10 o'clock Central. Is the all multi-nation call. And we have Sarah, brand new area manager, I'm gonna cry, is gonna be sharing on the call. And I'm so excited for her and her team. And so hop on to that as soon as it hits 10 o'clock. So, cause she's got some things to share. So awesome. I'm just so proud of you guys. So another thing was announced.
Lisa, can I add something to that incentive trip?
Is what?
Can I add something to the incentive trip?
Of course.
I just want everybody to know, sorry, I'm driving, so
no.
don't mind me. But anybody at any level can earn it. So even if you are brand new and just joined in the last like 2 weeks, or you are an independent consultant, it doesn't matter what level you're at. This incentive trip is not just for vice president. There are people of all levels that go on it. And it's all about what happens like in what you're building, like what Lisa was saying. But I just want you guys to know, like, you don't have to be in the company for a long time to earn the trip. Anybody can do it.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And so what we'll do is, and actually at the same time, Debbie Neal is going to be doing the Go for Gold at the same time as our multi-nation call. So you're going to want to listen to the recording because she's going to be talking about the trip and like how to earn that and why and all those things and get you completely fired up for it. And so that's kind of like the to-do in terms of things to listen to today. This obviously, and then if you're listening to the recording of this, go back and we'll have posted the recording of the team training call, or like the multi-nation one, the big one about AIT, everybody under Holly's Success Line, and then Debbie's Go for Gold. And another incentive for December that a few MVPs threw out, it's super awesome. It's called A Night with the Stars, and I'll post the flyer in our nation. But it's basically, so you guys, it's about earning your bonus. It's about, so as soon as and this will come in handy when we get to goals. But when you promote, the beauty of this business is like you never really arrive, like it's so great. Like you can take a breath for sure, but then it's like, okay, your stats hit 0 the next day. So it's just like a level playing field. Like, okay, here we are. Like like back at it. And, then bonusing is what, once you promote to where you're going, then bonusing is like the next thing to do, just like to be solid bonusing. And so, and doing that by like mid-month so that the rest of the time you have to grow towards your next qualification. And so And district manager bonus is a really important bonus to hit regardless of what level you're at, because it means you're growing your personal business. So even when you're, you know, an area and nation and region, really growing your personal business is super important. And so that means bonusing your district, because that means that you in your central district, that you're doing that volume and that you are bringing in new folks to your business. It's healthy. It just means really healthy growth. And so this incentive, it is bonusing your district. Sorry, my phone's charging over here. So bonusing your district by the 15th of December. And you will basically get it's a private Zoom event with some pretty amazing people. One of them is our new CEO. So there's going to be some other ones announced, but right now it's Debbie Neal, big deal, Eunice Ray, Ian Pritchard, get to listen to him and his lovely accent, Peyton, so we all know who that is, Deanna Heron, Donna Johnson, Jean David, and more surprises. So it's called Reach for the Stars, A Night with the Stars, DM bonus by December 15th, and you are invited to a private training. So that is going to be 1,000% worthwhile going for. And it just is in general. Like, that's so cool, guys. When we throw out these incentives, the idea is like not doing anything that distracts you from your business. It actually helps you. Like, you do these things and you just get a bigger paycheck too. It's so great. And then you get to help other people do the same thing. And so these are super important to go for. So those two things were the biggies, just like the calls to listen to, you know, in and around this training. And then that incentive that is getting thrown out right now. It starts right now because it's December. Okay, so on to goals. So guys, the mapping your route sheet, it's in the file section. It looks like this right here. So the top section of it is an assessment from the previous month. And assessments, like, think about that in like the world, like, why is that important? So 2 reasons. In order to, if things are going really, really well, it's really good to know what you're doing so that when things aren't going well, you know how to kind of fix it, you know? So if you're like having a killer month and like things are going great, like take a look at like, oh my gosh, there was a ton of sponsoring going on. I had a ton of one-on-ones. I got in front of 40 people. Oh, no wonder, you know? So it's really good to have that assessment, or like, oh, you know, it wasn't super great. Wow, I had 2 things on my calendar and I talked to, you know, 5 people. So it's sort of, you know, and I think within that too, kind of, there's obviously like looking back at volume and sponsoring and activity, but then too, you guys, I think to really look at how much did you plug in? Like, how much were you plugging into these calls, into the DA calls? How much were you doing personal growth? That's super important too. That's not on here, but like, I think that's a really important one, because that's going to like keep your mindset solid when you have some harder days. And so I think there was a call, the last week's Go for Gold was I think it was 5 pillars of duplication. Super good call to go back. There's another one. Just basically be listening to calls all day today. But she really talked about the importance of, especially when you're brand new, but it just never loses its value, to be doing some kind of belief building every day, even if it's like reading an Ion Arbonne every day. And an Ion Arbonne is a success story of someone who has written their story and posted it for people to read, to kind of, you know, resonate with, but then to also just kind of build their own belief. So even reading one of those a day, that takes 5 minutes. Or listening to, you know, an old Go for Gold, or Arbonne has on SoundCloud their own trainings that you can do. Training on demand is what they're called. And they're super great. There's all kinds of topics, but something like that, like feeding your brain, and feeding your belief is really, really important. So, okay. So that top piece, it's assessment and goal setting. So in really, really doing this within, like, I love that we're doing this the first of the month. I love that. We're like not wasting any time. We're just getting after it. So the other important thing about these two is getting this assessment to your sponsor ASAP, like by the end of the day, or by the end of, when you're listening to this, within 24 hours of listening to this, get this to your sponsor, because then they know a couple things. they're also going for a goal. And so then they can see how that fits in to their global goal, but then they can also look at what your goal is and maybe tweak it. You know, if there's like this huge goal and like 3 things that on your calendar, it's like, wow, okay, let's take a look at that. Do you want to adjust your activity? Do you want to adjust your goal? What do you want to do? Or vice versa. Maybe it's like this kind of small goal, but there's all this activity planned. And it's like, you know what? Like you might want to up that. Like it looks like based on what you've got going here, you might want to have a larger goal. You're going to hit that. So, and then we can help you kind of like make it fit, if that makes sense. So having your sponsor have these in their hands ASAP is really, really important. Okay, so the top is basically if you look at, if you are a team of one, or not a district yet, then it's your personal RV is your whole volume. That's everything. And then if you've got a consultant, then you can just use the district to have like what that volume is. So your personal QV is just like, that's you and any clients or preferred clients. That's what that means. That's what your PQV is. And then your personal sponsoring. And then you can just go down and, where it's district, area, region, nation, whatever level you're at, that's where you fill in, what that total number is. And then sponsoring, same thing. How many did you personally sponsor? And then how many did you in your district, area, nation? And then your activity. So how many, and the team part of it, you won't really fill in until you have that information from folks on your team. What your team actually did. So you want to just fill in you until you know when you get that information from your team. And then this top is like looking back at your previous month in terms of, like how many folks did I achieve my goal of what I set out? And so that's what the bottom piece is for this month. But then in January, we'll be looking at this top piece from December, if that makes sense. So you want to look back, at what your goals were for November around sponsoring and volume, and then see if they were achieved. And so if there's a commit goal and a stretch goal, and kind of what that means is like, okay, this is bare minimum. So let's say you're in qualification for district manager, right? So a commit goal would be whatever that volume is. I'm assuming that, let's say you last month you did 2,000, and so you need 4,000 to complete district. So that's probably going to be your commit goal. Like that is a commit, like that is pulling out all the stops. That's my commit goal. Your stretch goal might be 5,000 or 5,500 or area qual, who knows? Like, but that's like all right, this is my there's like a good, great, and like out of the park, like, okay, what are those goals? And so that's what the commit and stretch. And you can have a commit stretch. You can even have one more that maybe it's like, okay, for sure 4,000 to finish district, but then like 6,000 would be awesome. And then 10,000 would be area qual, which would be cool. So you can kind of, what you want to do with that. So then let's jump down to, and then if you're looking at these and going like, oh, okay, you know what? I didn't really achieve any of my goals. Like that's all right. Like at least you're looking at them. Guys, guess what? If you don't set a goal, 100% you're going to hit that, if that makes sense. So the fact that you're setting goals is like a huge deal, a huge deal. I know that every month I don't set goals. It's like you're in the weeds. Like, what am I even going for? It's just aimless. But when you set a goal and you keep it in front of you, it makes a huge difference in just your intention every day. December. So let's jump down to the current month. So that's where you'd write December on that line. And then your personal sponsoring goals. Okay. So this is, I like to put a line down the middle of that and have it be split into consultant sponsoring and preferred client sponsoring, because we want that to be kind of balanced. And a good rule of thumb for a healthy business is at least one new consultant and at least 5 new preferred clients. Like that's a really good, like kind of commit goal for that. And the reason being is that think about if that duplicates, when that duplicates, what that looks like for your business. So, and then again, off to the right is the team sponsoring goals. And so you'll fill that in again once you get your information from your team. And then personal sales goals, same thing. Like what's my personal, like what's my PQV? What am I thinking for my own clients, new preferred clients, just my own activity, personal activity. What do I want? Where's that going to be? And then below, which is super important, is like, how's that all going to happen? So you can set these goals, but then it's like, all right, what's the activity going to be that's going to support it? And that breaks down into, I mean, kind of the ways that we do our business is usually some kind of group event, whether that's a Facebook group, whether that is a launch, whether that is, a facial or a happy healthy hour where you're getting a few people together, exposing them to the products and the business and the full story. So guys, when you see presentation, what that means is just having people hear the whole Arbonne story. And that can be having them jump on a Discover Arbonne. That can be bringing them to a live Discover Arbonne. That can be sitting down, you and your sponsor, and grabbing a cup of coffee or breakfast or whatever, and hearing the full Arbonne story. And so that's what presentations are. So the group one, again, is just, how many of those do you have on your calendar? And I love that it's broken down by weeks, because I think that's another great way. I think when you set a goal for the month, it can be really daunting. If you're like, oh my gosh, 4,000 in this month, I have to go from 0 to 4,000. How am I going to do that? But if you can break that down and set like a weekly goal or even a daily goal of like, what does that look like if I divide it by 31, and go for that, that breaking it down into chunks can seem a lot easier. And hey, Ange, can I put you on the spot for a sec? So something that we've kind of been doing, a few of us, and I think it's been kind of successful, is it's a really fun way to keep your goals in front of you, is making like a visible, like a paper chain. Mm-hmm. And as like silly as that sounds, would you want to just kind of describe like how that's been for you or what it is?
Yeah, so I broke mine down into chunks of 500 QV because I was going to for finishing district and then bonus and then area. So I have it in my kitchen, which I walk by every single day. And that is just such a great reminder. And then also my wonderful boyfriend, Alex, will pick it up sometimes and say, hey, looks like you got some work to do. So it's not just me thinking about a number that's in my head. It's a visual. And then I also do a sticky note at my desk at work. And I do my non-negotiable goal and then my stretch goal right next to it. And then I've actually had through the months, my coworkers have been asking me about these goals and like, what are these numbers? And don't you want them to go up instead of down or whatever? But so it's just been a really good way to keep it in front of me, because then I'm constantly updating that number or cutting off a little thing. So link. So that's been really, really, really awesome to do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, I think basically the idea is whatever you're doing, just keep it in front of you. Because if you don't, like, it's super easy to lose sight of, I'm just muting out, super easy to lose sight of where you're at. So, so with that, looking again at those weeks, so week 1 through 4, that's a great way to kind of schedule out, like, what do you have existing right now? Write those in, and then what are you committing to? Like, what are you can write a line in there of like, what do I have on the left side? And then on the right side, like, what do I want to have, or what's going to be on my calendar? And in terms of breaking down, like how to reach X amount of volume, like what kind of assigning a value to each activity, I think can be also helpful to sort of make it all come together. Like, how am I going to reach this volume goal? Like, what kind of activity, what does that need to look like to get there? And so kind of historically, you can attach about 500 QV to a group presentation. So that is a Facebook party or a healthy happy hour or a launch or, something like that, where there's a group of folks, usually around 500 average QV you can attach to that. So kind of give that value. And then usually sitting down with someone or having somebody hop on or sending them, doing a drop off and having them watch a recorded DA or having them jump on a DA, that can usually be about a 150, like a new preferred client. Like, that's a good average, of value to assign to that. And then for a new consultant, that can kind of range. I mean, I would say that can be anywhere from like 500 to 1500, depending on what they come in with in terms of a start order. And then also like how quickly they, like they're launching, like when are they launching? Maybe they have one, maybe they have three, maybe they have people join right away, but kind of like a good number. Like, and I know it's kind of a wide range, but anywhere from like 5 to 1500 essentially. And so when you look at that, so let's say it's 4,000, just to use, you know, that $4,000 or for 4,000 QB, then that looks like, okay, so if I have 4 groups on my calendar and you want to over schedule them, like you want to have more than that because, you know, some might cancel, some get rescheduled. So let's say that you have 4, but you schedule 6. So 4 times 500, so that's 2,000. And then sponsoring a new consultant. So then that's, you know, roughly 3,000, adds another 1,000 to that, taking that average of that 5 to 1,500. And then, okay, one-on-one. So then that's, you know, like roughly like eight new preferred, you know, clients, that 150, or give or take. Maybe it's 6 events, that's 3,000. And then a new consultant, and then your 150 PCs in and around that. So basically, like, you can just kind of play with that, do the math. Some people really like doing group events. Some people really like doing one-on-ones. I think doing a handful of both is really important. Just because the person you sponsor might not be as comfortable or really good at, or like natural at the reach out method that you really like, you know, so you might sponsor somebody, maybe you are like loving one-on-ones, but you sponsor somebody who's like, you know what, like I really like getting in front of a lot of like a group of people and sharing this. Great. So you can teach them what you know and love. And then you can also, because you're doing some groups too, you can teach them how to do those. So I think just knowing that whatever you gravitate towards, great, stick with that, but kind of have your hands, you know, your feet in both camps so that you can also teach your new folks how to do it. So an overbook, guys, like once you have like, okay, this is what my calendar needs to look like to have these goals met, like fluff it up, fill it in, because it happened, especially, I mean, it's December, like, you know, people are going to like last minute or they're stressed out or whatever. So just like, don't stress yourself out by it. Be like, okay, I've got a buffer in here. It's no problem. I'm good. So that's kind of like what it looks like to, you know, kind of, what is the volume, what does the activity look like that I need on my calendar to be able to get to this goal? Okay, so then we back it up one step further, and it's like, okay, so what does my daily activity need to look like in order to put those things on my calendar in order to get to that goal? So, and that, guys, is like the bread and butter. That is so important, because you can put stuff on your calendar, you can put your goals down, but then if you don't match that with daily consistent activity, it can be really frustrating, because it's just not going to happen. And so take a look at like, what can I commit to every day? And this is going to be different maybe for different people in terms of how long you've been doing this, or, I think like what your average, this is where it's good to keep track of numbers. Like, okay, typically if I ask 5 people to take a look at my business, 1 person says yes, you know, like know your averages. So it's like, okay, if I'm looking at, you know, wanting 3 people a week to do that, then that's going to be asking 15 people to take a look in order to have 3 of those folks take a look. And so kind of, you know, figuring out what that looks like, and then what's your daily. And so I highly recommend having a mixture of both, of a number of different reach outs when you're looking at asking. So, and doing it the night before. I found that, and I think, you know, folks would agree too, that the more planful you are about it, just because we're able to work this business like in those nooks and crannies. But when we have a nook or a cranny that's open and we spend half of it, like, who was I going to call? What was I going to do? It can be super unproductive and really frustrating. So if you just have it the night before written out, like who am I reaching out to for what? And then carrying that with you, having it handy so that when you do have that 10-minute window or that half-hour window, you know what you're doing and you can just check. And then you're done with it. So hopefully that's making sense. The idea of like, here's my goal here to get to where I want to get. And guys, it can be like, attach a value to that too, like a personal value. Like when I wake up on January 1st as a new XYZ or having done this is what it's going to mean for me and my family. Like this means that I can, back off at work, or this means I can take this bill from our family, or that, and it's a really fun one. That means I can, pay for Christmas, or like whatever, like attach something to it so that it can it excites you, but then it also is a little bit like, oh, if I like that might be a little painful if I don't get there. Like I don't want to not get there because I don't want to feel what it's like to not have that happen. So, because I think we can kind of throw a goal out there that's a number or a whatever, and it doesn't have any value to it, where it's like, oh, I'm going to, finish district, or I'm going to bonus my district, whatever. But like, so what? Like, so that what can happen, So I think having that be like an emotional attachment to it is super important. And then keeping it in front of you, like Ange said, whether you do a paper chain, whether you do sticky notes and keep them on your steering wheel in your car, or on your mirror at home, or on your window in front of your kitchen sink, but just keep it in front of you and do your goal card, like do your goal card of, envision it, put it out there. And guys, the goal card, Jerry Rosenthal, he's coming in January. If you haven't registered, please do it now. Early bird's over, but I think it's still only like $65 for like 8 hours of training. It's bananas. But there's a goal card, and it's on our Changing Lives, the WordPress site. And I can post it here too, but it's basically an affirmation that you do 5 times a day, 5 times. So 25 times a day. And sorry about the snowmobile noise. You then are just putting that in your head, like it's happening. Like, I am so happy and grateful for, I won't say the whole thing. It has allowed me to X, like you're always saying, it's allowed me to X on or before December 31st, 2018. That way you are bringing that energy on in. So the whole idea of like what you speak about, you bring about. All right. And so that is kind of on the bottom. I would even say like a goal, like, am I saying my goal card? I don't think it's on here. But that idea of like, am I committed to 3 asks a day? Change that to whatever it needs to be. Guys, if you're going for a huge goal, maybe it's 10 asks a day. So change that. And who's your accountability partner? Maybe you're checking in with somebody. Maybe you've got a group of folks cooking who are going for the same thing. Are you checking in? Are you being active in that group? Are you setting goals with your team? So turning around and like, helping your team. And then that assessment. So this is, kind of throughout the week, throughout the month, like, am I asking people, are they booking? Are they saying yes? Are they holding? Like when the time comes, are they still there? And how's closing going? Is this productive? And so that's kind of like the lay of the land of this sheet and filling this out. But guys, it's more important, like, yes, fill the sheet out, but then it's what you do with it. Like, where do you keep that goal? What values you have attached to it? And then how are you checking in with it daily? And I would seriously add into this, what are you doing for personal development every single day? Whether it's reading a page or 10 pages, whether it's, an audio for 10 minutes, whether it's an Ion Arbonne, your affirmations, like something, guys, because this is won or lost between our ears for sure. So does anybody have anything else about goal setting? Or Hannah, did you want to add anything to it before we wrap up?
No, I think you covered it all. I'm just walking into a baby shower, so
okay.
I'm actually about to say adios.
Okay, awesome. Have fun.
Thank you.
I want to hold the baby.
Actually, I will say one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Just reiterating what Lisa just said about it happens right between your ears. Like what you think about, you bring about, you guys. And just like absolutely telling yourself, this is happening. I am going to do this, and speaking that out loud and believing it, regardless of what your numbers look like at any point before close day. Like it doesn't matter what happens on. No, it does matter. But like, don't for one second think that you can't achieve it because today's numbers don't look like you want them to on the 31st of the month. Just keep going. That's what I would say.
Word to your mother on that one.
On that note, I'm adiosin'.
Okay. Have so much fun.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, totally. Because guys, like, guess what? our numbers are 0 today. No matter where you were yesterday, we're all at 0. Big old goose eggs, all of them. So if we looked at that and thought, oh, there's no way I'm at 0. How am I going to get to? No, it's ridiculous. You get there one ask at a time, one meeting at a time, one everything at a time. So just, this is the long game, guys. We're playing the long game, not the short game. So get with your sponsor when you've got questions about any of this and just do it. Like, make a commitment to yourself to fill this out. Get serious about it. Get real. This is your life, guys. This month is going to go by regardless if you set goals or not, but it can make a big difference if you set goals and be intentional about it. So, all right, hop on at 10 at 10 Central in 27 minutes to hear Miss Schaffhauser. And where are we going? I want to go to maybe like Turks and Caicos or maybe the Cayman Islands. I don't know where it's going to be. Hawaii'd be cool, but that'd be redundant. That's, NVP. Anyway, any guesses? Any guesses where it's going to be?
If you check your email.
Oh, it's already been announced? Okay,
Yeah.
don't wreck it for me.
Okay.
Okay. You're so funny. All right. Take care, you guys. Here we go. December. Let's all be on that December 15th. I'm going to see if there's a way that non-district, like people who aren't at district yet, can also earn that Evening with the Stars. I think that would be really awesome too for consultants to be able to earn that. So more on that later. Okay. Love you guys. Let's rock this December.